The rain was falling hard on the cracked streets of Lyon, France, soaking through the black umbrellas of officers standing guard outside Interpol's headquarters. Inside, the marble corridors echoed with the sound of hurried footsteps. It was 3:14 a.m. when a file marked Urgent, Red Notice, Classified, slid across a polished desk in the command division. The man receiving it, a senior officer named Laurent Dufresne, frowned as he read the request. It wasn't from a democratic government or a legitimate law enforcement agency. It was from a regime known for silencing its critics. The target, a journalist who had exposed corruption in the president's inner circle. The charge, financial crimes. The reality, a death sentence disguised as due process. He exhaled slowly, staring at the Interpol seal embossed in gold on the folder. The Red Notice system was designed to catch fugitives, terrorists, traffickers, murderers. But tonight, it was being used to hunt truth itself. Laurent had seen this pattern before. So had others. The abuse had become a quiet epidemic spreading through the veins of international justice. Across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, governments were learning how to turn Interpol's most powerful tool into a weapon. A red notice was supposed to be neutral, a global alert requesting the arrest of someone wanted for serious crimes. But with one submission and the right political connections, it could ruin a life, even without evidence. Once that alert hit the system, every airport, every police station, every border guard became an unwitting accomplice. One of those victims was a man named Karim Al-Farouk, a human rights lawyer from Egypt. In 2016, he fled Cairo after defending students accused of protesting against the regime. Karim found refuge in Berlin, where he tried to rebuild his life. But one morning, as he landed in Warsaw for a conference, airport police surrounded him. The officer in charge told him coldly, "You're under arrest. There's a red notice in your name." Karim's passport was confiscated, his laptop seized, and his reputation shattered within hours. No one cared that the charges were fabricated. The red notice had spoken, and the system obeyed. Inside Interpol headquarters, a few quiet dissenters began to question the system. Among them was Dufresne and a data analyst named Sophia Richter. She had been tracking red notices for years, mapping the sudden spikes from certain countries. Russia, Turkey, China, and the UAE appeared over and over, states with histories of targeting dissidents abroad. But when Sophia presented her findings to the Oversight Committee, she was met with polite silence and nervous glances. "We're not here to challenge governments," one executive said, closing her report folder. "We're here to cooperate with them." Outside, in the real world, lives were being destroyed. In London, a former Kazakh banker turned whistleblower was detained at Heathrow. In Madrid, a Chechen activist vanished after a red notice led to his deportation. In Istanbul, a Turkish journalist living in exile received an email from Interpol warning him not to travel. His name had been added to the list. Each story followed the same pattern: political defiance, followed by digital manhunt. Laurent and Sophia decided to dig deeper. Late at night, they met in the archives, rows of cold metal filing cabinets stretching endlessly under the Lion headquarters. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly above as Sophia laid out a set of printouts. "These notices," she whispered, "were filed with identical metadata, the same network IP, the same format, even the same timestamps." Laurent leaned closer. "You're saying they're not coming from multiple sources?" "I'm saying," she replied, "they're being uploaded by a single proxy disguised as different countries." That revelation was enough to send a chill through both of them. Someone inside Interpol, or connected to it, was manipulating the system from within. The Red Notice platform was supposed to be secure, accessible only to authorized national bureaus. But in practice, oversight was weak, and political influence was easy to buy. It wasn't just corruption, it was weaponized bureaucracy. Sophia traced the proxy to a private data intermediary based in Dubai, a company contracted by multiple nations to streamline Red Notice submissions. The firm's CEO was a retired intelligence officer with deep ties to the Gulf states. "They're laundering the requests," Sophia said grimly. "They take politically motivated charges, clean them up, and push them through as legitimate law enforcement documents." Laurent clenched his jaw. "And we stamp them without question." Word of their investigation spread quietly among a few trusted colleagues. But Interpol was not an agency that welcomed internal dissent. Within weeks, Sophia's access was revoked, pending review. Laurent was reassigned to administrative duties. Files began disappearing from the internal database. The message was clear: stop asking questions. Meanwhile, outside Interpol's walls, the fallout continued. Karim al-Farouk, the Egyptian lawyer, spent 3 months in detention before Germany intervened and secured his release. But his name remained flagged, making international travel impossible. "They turned justice into a prison without walls," he said in an interview. His story went viral, sparking public outrage. For the first time, the world began to question Interpol's integrity. A European Human Rights Committee launched an inquiry into Red Notice abuse. They discovered that out of nearly 15,000 active notices, hundreds were politically motivated. Some were used to target exiled politicians, some to track activists, and others to silence financial whistleblowers. The findings were damning, but limited. Interpol was an independent body, immune from national laws. Accountability was almost non-existent. Inside Interpol, tensions rose. Senior officials scrambled to protect the organization's image. In one late-night meeting, a director slammed his fist on the table. "We can't afford another scandal," he barked. "If the public loses faith, our cooperation network collapses." But one junior analyst spoke up timidly. "Sir, maybe they should lose faith, if this is what we've become." The room went silent. Laurent watched from the sidelines as the inquiry reached a dead end. Governments simply denied wrongdoing, and Interpol quietly suspended a few controversial notices. No real reform followed. That night, he met Sophia again in a small cafe near the Rhone River. Rain drummed softly against the windows as she whispered, "I'm leaving. I've been threatened. Someone broke into my apartment last week." Laurent looked at her with quiet guilt. "You're doing the right thing," he said. "Expose it from the outside." She nodded. "And you?" He gave a tired smile. "Someone has to stay inside and keep the lights on." Weeks later, a whistleblower dossier surfaced online. It included internal memos, email chains, and classified logs showing how certain governments had exploited the Red Notice system. Each document bore Interpol's emblem. The leak sparked international headlines: Interpol Red Notice corruption scandal. Reporters demanded answers. Member states called for emergency sessions. But inside headquarters, the mood turned icy. Sophia disappeared soon after. Her phone went offline in Prague, her hotel room left untouched except for an open laptop and a single note. "They found me." Authorities dismissed it as a possible suicide. Laurent knew better. Months passed. Officially, Interpol announced a new filtering mechanism to prevent political misuse. In practice, it was little more than a PR gesture. The system remained vulnerable. Red notices continued to flow, and political regimes continued to exploit them. Laurent sat alone in his dimly lit office, staring at the Interpol emblem one last time. His phone buzzed. A new notice had arrived. He opened it and froze. The target's name glowed on his screen: Laurent Dufresne. The charges: espionage and unauthorized disclosure of classified information. It had finally happened. The system had turned on him. He stood, calm but trembling slightly. Outside, the lights of Lyon blurred in the rain. The world believed Interpol was the guardian of international justice. But Laurent now understood the truth. It had become a mirror, reflecting the power of those who controlled it. The innocent were hunted, the guilty were protected, and every click of a bureaucrat's mouse could end a life. He turned off his monitor, knowing what would come next. In the corridor, distant footsteps echoed closer. The rain grew louder, hammering against the glass like a warning. He whispered to himself, almost as if speaking to Sophia across the void. Justice isn't blind. It's being told where to look. And then, the door opened.